Hey, welcome to another quick tips. Today I'll show you my process of rigging a cyclist in DUIK Bassel. I typically rig my characters in a neutral standing pose, but this guy is a cyclist, so maybe it's okay. I like to keep my reference layers from when I drew the overlaps for the joints, and you can unpre-comp them with this plugin called AEUX, which is free online. Another free tool I use is called Autocrop. You can select a comp and then press the Autocrop button, and it'll adjust the bounding box to your layer based on its alpha. I like to start with the arms, so I'd grab the references and the artwork, and then first thing I do is they align the anchor points. So I'd usually just click Y for the pan behind tool and hold on to Command. It'll snap the anchor point to the layer either above or beneath it. Then select the layers from the arm to the hand, click on the rigging tab of DUIK Bassel, and then click on the arm. You might need to move the tip to where the fingers are. Make sure you link the arm, forearm and hand to the correct structures. If your artwork of arms are in exactly the same place, now is a good time to duplicate your structures. You can't really duplicate structures after auto-rigging them. So select your structures and click on the duplicate button. So in my case, my arms are in exactly the right place. So I'm going to duplicate an arm and a forearm and parent them to the structures. Select the structures on top and hit auto-rig. So that should give you a new controller where you can control the movement of your arm. I want to do exactly the same thing to the structures beneath the body, but be able to use the stretching function. But one of the issues with the stretching function in DUIK is that if you don't define where the anchors are pinned, it'll just continuously stretch into oblivion. A good way to do this is to set some puppet pins and turn them into bones for the structure. So let's do that for the arm beneath the body. Select the arm and set a puppet pin where the shoulder is and one where the elbow is. And for the forearms, I'll set one where the elbow is and where the wrist is. Go on the artwork, select the puppet effect. Click on the links and constraints tab to add bones to them. It should set bones exactly where you've dropped the puppet pins. Then you just need to figure out where they fit, and so the shoulders should go to the arm, the two elbow bones should go where the forearm is, and the one sitting on the wrist should go to where the hand is. Let's show some of the layers for housekeeping. The artwork that has bones on them no longer need to be parented to the structure. It is especially important if they're vector graphics. Let's select the structures and auto-rig them. So the point of adding these bones was to allow for stretching. Let's go in and test if the stretching works. Here I've just dropped the curves on the artwork so you can tell which arms are in the front and back. So the rigging process for the legs is exactly the same thing. You just want to go through with your reference layers and then move the anchor points to the right places. That way your structures will be in exactly the right place against your artwork. The only thing that's really different about doing it for the legs is if you want to add extra control for your foot. If you look into the tabs for rigging the foot, you can see that there's an option for doing toes. And essentially what you want to do is be able to control your toes by having an anchor point there. So you would need puppet pins on your ankle, your foot, the end of your toes, and even on your heel where your whole foot can rotate around. And then do the add bones again, just to be able to add extra control. In terms of rigging, you want to select your leg, your calves, and then your foot, and then the toe. And you can click on the structure and it'll create everything in the right place. One thing to be wary of is that your new puppet pins, the one sitting on the ankle should go to the ankle obviously. The two that are pointing in the front should be parented to your toe. The one that's sitting on the heel should also be parented to the foot structure. So let's select the structures and auto-rig them. And let's go to the controller to test the foot roll function. You can see that my heel's doing weird things, so my puppet pin definitely isn't parented correctly. Let's select that. The final puppet pin needs to be connected to the foot. There we go, that's working much better now. So I forgot to duplicate the structures before doing the auto-rig. I'm just going to repeat the process for the leg behind the body. There's a couple of ways to rig the body, and for this example, I'd give it 2 spines at least because I want to curl the back. but the process is actually very similar to the arms. And make sure you place your anchor points in the right place, but the main thing you have to be wary of is just where you drop your puppet pins. So I'd like to imagine that the first segment of my back would be where the hips are placed, and then the first spine, and then the second spine. Then you need to drop another one where the shoulders are, and that's also going to become the base of your neck. We're also going to drop some bones for the neck at the bottom and at the top. So do the same process of turning the puppet effect into bones with the add bones function. Then we want to select the hip bone, to the spine, to the second spine, to the shoulder, to the tip of the neck, and click on the spine and the structures tab so we get a nice little structure for our back. You'll get a little excess and you'll want to move the tip to where the top of the head is. And let's keep our structures tidy, so I'll set them right above the bones of the body. So let's make sure everything's parented correctly. So I want to grab pin 1, do it to the hips, pin 2 to the spine, pin 3 to spine 2, pin 4 to the neck. And then I want to grab the neck ones as well. So the one in the base, let's chuck it and combine it, link it to the neck, and the top of the neck to the bottom of the head. And let's grab the head up where it can link it back down to the head also. And now finally we've got everything, so let's auto rig it. So let's test this out. The first thing I notice is it automatically links the top neck structure to the shoulders, which I don't really like, but I'm just going to test everything else first. It looks like everything else moves pretty well, and the Bezier curve is going great. So it's that shoulder bit, I really dislike how that moves, and it's just stretching the artwork too much. So what I like doing is grabbing the neck structure, and instead of parenting it down, I like to parent it straight to the controller of the shoulders. That way it gives like a much more natural warp. And I don't really know why this isn't the default, because all the Bezier curves and stuff work with it. So yeah, just unlink it, link it back up top to the controller. Another thing I like doing is giving extra controls to the shoulders separate from the base of the neck. So I'll grab the arm structures, and then I've got motion 3 over here, which has a null function. That will give me a null placed right in between where I've selected these layers. If you don't have motion 3, you can totally just create a null and then copy the position of one of your arm structures and paste it in that way. So let's do some housekeeping. The one we just made, let's rename it to be a shoulder controller, and then the old shoulder and neck controller, I'll just call it the neck controller. Now remember that we still have to do the same thing with the leg or the thigh structures. So grab the 2 thigh structures and then let's parent it down to the hips. And at this stage I like to test everything and see if they all move nicely together, and hopefully they should. And yeah, that's pretty much how you rig it. For housekeeping's sake, I like to hide all the bones and structures at this point. And even like if I'm not using the graphics anymore, and I like to shy those as well. The last thing that we need to do is just for housekeeping and making sure that we don't completely destroy our rigs by moving it too far. So I like to select all of my controllers, click on P for position, and then just see what needs to be zeroed out. So you can see the hips already have a position of 0, 0 because it's sitting on exactly the same spot as the body controller. So we're just going to select everything else except for the hips, and we're going to click on the 0 button in the links and constraints tab. So what that does is it's going to add an extra null to everything, but it's going to be hidden. So now you can move things really far, and if you mess up a lot, you can always move it back. So 0, 0 will be your base position. Great, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this quick tip, which wasn't so quick, but rigging is one of those processes that take a lot of time, so hopefully you've learned something, and if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message or leave a comment here. Bye.